Hello my friends, Paul here in the RoJoBe Music Workshop, and welcome to part 2 of the Japanese Sanshin Gets a New Head. Okay, so the previous series on this instrument, for those of you who don't know, quick recap. I was recording a video on my banjolales, and the Sanshin was next to me on a floor stand, and as I turned around to pick up one of the banjolales or put it back, I don't remember, I knocked the Sanshin over. It fell onto its headstock, which subsequently easy for me to say, exploded. Now it was a repair that I'd done previously, and I'm not going to go into all the detail again, but basically it was the second time I've done the repair, and the second time it failed, so we had this going on. So I decided to do what I should have done right from the beginning and make a new headstock for this instrument. So in the first episode of this series, you've seen that I had cut the original head off and attached a block of wood to the neck to make a new head, and I'd fitted it by drilling a 10mm hole down in through the block of wood this way, and the same into the neck, and fitted a 10mm dowel in the hole to give extra strength to the joint. So I'd just shown that I'd attached the single wooden block to the neck, and I'd added a little bit on the back at the top for this part basically. So there's no weakness anywhere. It's not sort of joined down the middle or anything like that. It's literally just the piece for this bit on the back, because it wasn't quite deep enough for that. And I said I was going to start to cut out the basic shape off camera, using a combination of, first of all, my bandsaw and then the oscillating spindle sander to kind of tidy things up. Well, I have a small confession. I have skipped forward quite a bit. I didn't record any of doing that work because, as I said, it's noisy and there's a lot of dust, and I don't want all that dust getting into my new camera. I don't take this camera into my heavy machine room, if you like. It already gets dusty enough right here in the shop, so I want to minimize any dust getting in the camera. So I'm not going to be recording any of the the big heavy cutting stuff where there's sawdust flying everywhere. So I'd left it at the end of part 1 saying that I was going to start to cut out the basic shape of the headstock and tied it up on the spindle sander. Well, that is now done, so let me show you where we're up to right now. So we've got this shape of the headstock going round. Just compare that to the old one, and first of all let's just compare the size, the length. You can see we've got a decent amount of extra length on the headstock already, and I did say I was going to make the whole thing bigger in all dimensions. So that's this profile, and I've also cut this profile. And again, let's just compare that with the old one, and you can see that it's considerably deeper this way. And I did that deliberately to make, obviously to make it a lot stronger. So we've got the whole thing cut out now, and actually I did do not just the basic shaping, but got all the contours and everything exactly as I wanted them. And so that's come out really, really nice. I'm really happy with that. And if we just try to have a look at this piece at the back, where I'd added an extra piece of wood to make that, you can just about, well, you can see it pretty clearly actually on the camera, can see the join there, going down the side, and the same this side. You can see the join there, and you can see the join there. But it's a really good tight join. That is going to be plenty strong enough. I'd forgotten actually how good this wood is and how nice it is to work with. It's quite a tough wood, but you don't get, you know, lots of chip out and splintering and things like that. It's a really nice wood to work with. And okay, so we've got the shape of the headstock all the way around, and you can see there's masking tape all over it. Well, there's a good reason for that. It's being revealed. So I've also done the slot in the middle, including this kind of ramped part here for the strings. So obviously, again, comparing that with the old one, you can see that is quite a bit longer, the slot in the middle. And just to, you know, continue the reveal, I've also made and fitted a new nut. Now the reason I made a new one is because the original one, it's going to be difficult to show this, the original one is too small. With this new headstock I've come quite a bit further out here. Just again compare that with the original, you can see it's quite a bit wider right at the bottom part here, quite a bit wider actually. So that meant that you know, rather than this sort of just tapering up a tiny bit either side there, this comes out quite a bit. So the original nut that I had for this, it was too small, so I've made a new one, and it is bone, and I've got that fitted in really nicely. I took a little bit of time to do this, to make sure you know, all the dimensions were right. So it was quite a tall. Where's that other piece? It was quite a tall nut originally. So there's one of the pieces that I cut off. So yeah, it was quite a bit higher, but I glued it in first. Got, you know, cut the slot in the neck / headstock. Cut the slot in there first. Then fitted the piece of bone into the slot and got it fitted in nicely, made sure it was all glued in, and, you know, I've sort of gone round it, any gaps there might have been around the edges, and filled all that in. And then I had to sort of cut a piece off the top because it was too tall. I cut a piece off there, and then, you know, filed it around and filed all the edges and the corners, and used sandpaper and got it all nice and smooth and shaped, and that's turned out really nice. I mean, it's a bit odd that, you know, it kind of goes past the edges of the neck. You don't normally see that, but that's how I've decided to do this one, and it just follows the contours here. It looks really nice. So we've got the slot, and like we said, it's a fair bit longer than the original. Let's just take that piece off the back as well, and again, let's just compare it at the back, and again you can see that it is considerably longer than the original, and the reason for that is because, you know, putting the tuning pegs in, they were just so close together. That's why we had this weakness here. They were just too close together. I mean, you know, for the size of these pegs. On which note, yeah, I've also drilled and reamed the holes for the tuning pegs, and already you can see just how much extra wood we've got between the holes compared to the original, and, you know, more spacing between them, obviously. So, you know, it just makes it so much stronger and neater, really. So there is the whole headstock, almost complete. And yeah, I mean, these holes for the tuning pegs much tidier than the the old one. So, and I've deliberately left all of these holes a little bit smaller than before, because I basically want the tuning pegs to find their own, you know, resting home, if you like. So let me just put them in. So you can see already it's not quite all the way through, but it's started to get tight, and it's literally just, can't really see that, just going in the hole there. And the bottom one, same thing, literally only just goes in that hole, the other side. So that's it with all the tuning pegs in, and look at the angle we've got here now. I mean, it's not, well, it is pretty much perfect. I mean, you know, this one tapers up, slopes up, this one slopes down, and this one is straight across. And it looks so much better than before. And again, you know, the tuning pegs just barely start to go through the hole on the other side. And they will, you know, they'll wear in over time. They'll sort of go a little bit further in each time you know, you tune the strings. So much better. I'm really happy with this new headstock. So let me just right. So that looks so much better than before. And you know, you've got much more room here to get your hand in there to turn. That's perfect. You know, I mean, I've got reasonably big hands, and I've got plenty of room there to turn the tuning pegs. Absolutely perfect. Much better than before. So let me just take those out. So there it is, new headstock. So the shape around this way and around this way, it's pretty much finalized. And the slots and the tuning peg holes, it's all done. All I've got to do now is take off these, you know, sharp corners all the way around. You know, the front, the back, and also on the inside of the slot. Not the tuning peg holes, they don't need doing. And all around this, you know, this portion at the top. This is partly done already. I've kind of, you know, this back edge and around here, more or less done, but I've got to do it a little bit more. And this contour here we've got a little bit of a ridge just there where it starts to go over. It's a little bit of a ridge there, tiny ridge there, so I've got to take all that out as well. So I'm now at the stage of the head itself, you know, as far as the shape this way and this way is done, and the slot and the tuning peg holes. But you know, like I said, I wanted to round off all of the edges, take out any tiny little bumps and ridges anywhere, particularly over this part. I mean, I did all of that and that. Well, I did the initial cut on my bandsaw and then tidied it up on the oscillating spindle sander, but you can never really get it perfect with that, so I finish it by hand. So that's where I'm at now. I need to start to round over all the edges and take out any little bumps and ridges. So let's get the camera in position around here, and let me just zoom in a little bit at first. And okay, so I've got the neck, I've got the tuning pegs, I've got the old head here, and over here I've got a selection of files and rasps, including my beloved Shinto saw rasp. As I said, the big rasps and files here, and I've got some smaller rasps and files here. And you know, I used these, all of these, to do quite a lot of the actual initial shaping once I've finished on the machines. But now we're into more of the kind of finer details. Let me just move these out of the way. So I think rather than trying to use, oh, you can't see what I'm doing. Rather than trying to use rasps and files for this, I'm going to start just because all I want to do is just take these edges down to, you know, sort of rounded corners. Let me just reposition this camera a bit. So I don't really want to use rasps and files for that. It's a bit too heavy duty, really. So all I want to do is, like I said, just round over all of the edges all the way around, and including in this slot. I've got to be careful with this nut that I don't damage that or knock it out. So rather than using files or rasps, I'm going to start with some coarse sandpaper. So camera up, camera down. So I've got a selection of sandpapers here. So this one on the end is 100 grit, really coarse sandpaper. So I've got 100, 400, 600, 1000, 1500, 2000 and 2500. So that's what I'm going to use to finish off this head. I'm not going to use any files or rasps for this part. It's going to be all sandpaper. As I said, starting with a coarse 100 grit to initially take off all of the corners and round them over. So here we go. Let me think, where am I going to start? As I said, this part here is mostly done. So I'll leave that for now, that part, and I'll do these edges around here and inside the slot. So like I said, start with some 100 grit, and I'm literally just, you know, rounding off the edges. I'm not really looking at taking off any more material now, so I don't need to. It's, you know, the shape is finalized, and it doesn't take a lot with this 100 grit to round that off. And like I said, I'm not doing any more shaping now. That's all done. I mean, even using hand tools, you know, files and rasps, at this stage, you can, you know, you can go too far or too quick and, you know, end up with a bit of a problem. Much more, it takes a bit longer, and it's kind of a little bit harder with sandpaper, but you're much more in control. So I'm not sure how well you'll see that. So that's, well, a bit too close. So that's a before, and that's after. So just a couple of minutes, and you know, that's almost there, really. So I just want to go around this edge here, where it contours down towards the neck. See what I'm doing, not too well. I'm already pretty happy with that. That's close. Yeah, it's a little bit of a ridge just there. And actually on that part there. Yeah, that's pretty good. Right, so turn around and do the other side. It's a little bit rough around there, so if we can get that tidied up a bit. Okay, that's not bad. Incidentally, one thing I'm not sure if I showed or not, but you know where this is, you know, deeper this way. So now that means I have to sort of contour this down towards the neck there, which I've mostly done, and the same here as well. It sort of contours down into this curve. So you know it's pretty much broader this way, and wider this way, and longer this way, so all the dimensions are bigger, and that's going to add so much strength. And you can see just how much, you know, extra wood, particularly this side, how much extra wood we've got between the holes, and this is much stronger wood anyway, so you know it is so much better like this. Right, where was I? That's not far off actually. Just get a little bit more up on this top portion. Okay, so inside the slot here, the sides are okay, but doing the top and bottom is a little bit tricky, but it's not that bad. And like I said, with files or rasps, that would be a bit more difficult. It's much more controllable using this. And this 100 grit, I think this is an old sanding belt off of one of our belt sanders that basically snapped. But it's really, really good for this, and it takes off quite a lot of material pretty quickly. And when you think this is the kind of thing you have on, you know, belt sanders and spindle sanders, it really is pretty coarse. Yeah, not too bad. So I kind of put it into a curl like that to do the end bits, top and bottom. Bit tricky, but not too bad. Right, do this side. Yeah, it's coming together. So although I said, you know, it's a reasonably long process to make a new headstock, you know, I had done a fair bit of the work off camera, but it's not been that long really. It's actually gone quicker than I expected. That's a bit tricky. We've got slightly different grain there. It's not wanting to sand too beautifully. Yes. Okay. Alright, let's get in there. Right, so that's the back mostly done. I mean, all of the, you know, corners are taken off. A little bit there. You know, all of the corners are kind of rounded off. So just got to do a little bit more just there. You can't see what I'm doing. Yeah, so that's the back mostly done, sort of 90%. So the front is just the same, but like I said, I've got to be careful here where I've fitted the nut, not to damage or knock the nut loose. So you know, when I was shaping the nut and, you know, smoothing it and everything, I kind of did these bits anyway, just both sides, so they don't need too much. And with this 100 grit sandpaper, I could quickly damage that nut. So I'm just being a little bit careful around there. Yeah, I'm not going to go too much with this because it's partly done anyway. So I'll do more on that with the finer grit sandpapers. I'm going to come back to that because I want to go over this part here and see if I can take out those ridges we've got on there. So we'll start the sort of the front part just here. That's better already. So I'm doing it in a kind of a circular motion because if I keep going the same way, this really coarse sandpaper leaves, you know, grooves in it. It sort of scratches up the wood quite a bit. So kind of going in a circular motion so we don't get that too much. That's actually working pretty well. A little bit more in the middle just there. That's not bad at all, that. Almost there. Okay, so the next one up, just sort of over this part here. Same thing, going in a circular motion so I don't leave big grooves in it with this coarse sandpaper. A little bit on that edge. That's good. Sorry, I know you can't see too well what I'm doing here, but I need to do it in a way that's easier for me. Yeah, that's mostly there. Now that's it's an easier way for me to do it, right on the edge, but you can't see. Okay. Mostly there. So I'll continue on the top edge. Yeah, not too bad. Chipped out a little bit of wood there, but that's fine because I'm still rounding that over, so I'm just going to ease up on the pressure a little bit. Trying to rush it a bit, not a good idea. Okay, again mostly there, so I'm going to do the inside of the slot here. I'm going to start down the bottom here nearer the nut, just get that rounded and smoothed off there. Yeah, that's not bad at all. Right, and the top part. Yeah, like I said, it's a bit tricky doing this part here, but not impossible. So this part that I'm doing now, all of the sort of final, you know, taking off all the corners and the, you know, smoothing and then going up the grits to get it smoother and smoother, a nice finish. This is one of those jobs where it's 20% of the work takes 80% of the time. And that's almost always the way when doing any kind of work like this. 80% of the work takes 20% of the time, and the other 20% of the work takes 80% of the time. And it's all this, you know, fine detail stuff. This is what really takes the time. I mean, to cut out the shape of this, you know, this way, and the slot, and the tuning peg holes, that was probably a total of about 15 or 20 minutes to actually cut everything. You know, it's like 15 to 20 minutes, all of that. But it's all the final stuff that's what really takes the time, and it does take a long time. So that's you know, mostly done with the corners. Mostly, still got to do a little bit more yet. But you know, I've still got quite a lot more sanding to do yet. This is going to be probably, I don't know, probably a couple of hours worth of sanding I've still got to do here. So I'm not going to film all of that. You can see what I'm doing. So, you know, like I said, these corners, that's mostly done. I've still got to do a little bit more. And then I'm just going to be going up the grits of sandpaper to get it smoother and smoother and smoother. And I'm also going to sand all of the neck as well, sides and back, and you know, this part here. I'm not going to sand this. Well, actually I will, but I'll wait until I get to the 2,500 grit and just give that a light sanding. So I'm gonna sand the whole neck as well, and because there's a few, you know, nicks and divots in this that I've never been happy with. So, you know, I'm gonna sand the whole thing and get it all the way up to a 2,500 grit, and then actually when I've done that, I then need to engrave my logo up here. And then when that's done, I'm going to oil the whole thing. So, you know, what I'm doing from now for the next couple of hours or so, actually not, because I've got a lesson soon, but certainly, you know, a couple of hours worth at least of sanding, and then, you know, like I said, laser engrave my logo up here and then oil the whole thing. I'm not going to film any of that. You know, dust is already flying around, and I'm gonna, when I switch this camera off now, I'm gonna clean it because I'm a bit worried about the dust, and then continue with this. So in part 3 it will be all sanded, final shape sanded and oiled, and then I think it will be time to put the thing back together. So this job has gone, like I said, quite a bit quicker than I was expecting. And it's going really nicely. I'm really happy with this new headstock. Definitely, you know, reiterates what I've said all along. Should have done it right from the start, but there it is. I'm doing it now, and I'm happy with it. And it's not even finished yet. So, like I said, part 3, unless anything else comes up, will probably be final assembly. We will see. So this is going to be a shorter video series than I thought it was going to be, actually. But having said that, it's because I've done, you know, a majority of the work on this off camera, and you know, because I'm just worried about my camera, all the dust and everything. So I'm going to end this video now, get my camera cleaned. Actually, this camera does have a self-cleaning function, which presumably cleans the inside mirror, lens, whatever's inside these cameras. So yeah, I'm gonna have a look at that and run that process as well, plus a bit of external dusting. Okay, so like I said, part 3, unless anything else comes up, will probably be final assembly. Okay, in the meantime, please look after yourselves, look after each other. We will see you soon. Peace out.